Disclaimer: this video was originally uploaded August 27, 2015. It was taken down after a manual review initiated by World Wrestling Entertainment on August 28, 2023, almost 8 years later to the day. While I don't particularly like this video when looking back at it, some people said they did, so here's a re-upload. I've removed or re-edited the portions that caused the original upload's removal.
Hello?
Hey, Blondie.
Oh, hey, SCR. What's going on?
Not much. You remember that time that you gave me a copy of WWE Crush Hour?
Oh, yeah. What about it?
Well, I just realized that I never properly told you. Thanks.
Step on the gas, step on the gas, step on the brakes, step on the brakes, step on the brakes, step on the brakes, step on the gas, step on the gas. I'm glad you know what you
Oh, WWE, what inane bullshit won't you do? It's hard for pro wrestling fans to justify their love for the art when this company does things like have a leprechaun who speaks gibberish as one of its champions, have a mysterious giant egg hatch a guy in a turkey suit as the payoff to months of build-up, use a former manager's recent death for a big match storyline, and set up a story where a guy supposedly raped the corpse of a woman he loved shortly after she died in a car accident. And perhaps due to their owner's apparent need to be known outside the wrestling world, the WWE also tried numerous times to find success outside of wrestling, doing things like opening short-lived restaurants, starting a football league which barely lasted one season, and pumping out crappy movie after crappy movie after crappy movie after crappy movie after crappy movie. And of course there are the video games, though most of them don't deviate too far from just being wrestling games. The exceptions include titles like WrestleMania the arcade game, which was a more over-the-top Mortal Kombat style fighting game, a beat-em-up called WWF Betrayal, and the game we're looking at for this video, WWE Crush Hour. To my knowledge, not counting Betrayal, it's the only WWE game that doesn't have wrestling in it, and it was so well regarded and remembered that when WWE.com did an article on the history of WWE video games, they didn't mention Crush Hour at all.
You don't even exist. You are nothing. You are shit.
The game was developed by THQ subsidiary Pacific Coast Power and Light, aka Locomotive Games, aka those people that made Jet Moto 3 and Road Rash 64, in association with another longtime WWE business partner, Jakks Pacific. It released in March of 2003, a mere 10 months after the game was announced, on GameCube and PS2, but not Xbox because that version got cancelled. It was a budget title, so at launch it only cost around $20 for a new copy. Man, $20? I've heard of stuff being priced to move before, but...
Hold on, SCR!
Oh, for God's sake.
You seriously doing a WWE game without me? How could you not ask me to help you out with this?
Look, Oni, I know you're the go-to wrestling guy on River City Gamers, but I got this one, alright? And besides, I already hit my crossover quota doing that intro with Blonde Guy Gamer.
Oh, come on! I got plenty to talk about Crush Hour!
How much have you actually played Crush Hour?
I don't know. I gave up and quit after 2 or 3 battles.
Get out.
Alright.
Crush Hour's setup is basically what WWE owner Vince McMahon wants to accomplish in real life. Somehow he's gained control of all television networks and inserts WWE stars into every show and commercial he can. Now he's come up with a new show where the WWE roster fights each other with modded vehicles because apparently their jobs weren't dangerous enough already.
You know, I bruised my spinal cord and it kind of made my reflexes in my legs a little different. But yeah, I still got some damage from that.
One day in the gym, all of a sudden, just this arm couldn't pick up any weight. And I thought, well, what's going on?
The thing that was going to cause paralysis for me was I didn't have any fluid around my spinal cord, around where I had my second surgery. If I would have got kicked there, that's it. I'm toast, right?
In case it's not already obvious from the description, this game is basically the WWE version of Twisted Metal, right down to Vince McMahon being a stand-in for Calypso, although instead of granting wishes to the winner, he gives out title belts. No, really, see? He gives out the heavyweight, WWE, or women's title depending on what WWE show they're on. In fact, this game came out less than 2 years after the critically acclaimed Twisted Metal Black, so it's quite possible that Vince McMahon, or someone close to him, somehow caught wind of the game and told THQ, "Make this a WWE game, goddammit!" Crush Hour has a select roster of 23 WWE guys and gals, as well as 9 hidden characters, all driving modded vehicles that are supposed to fit their personalities. One Jack's Pacific director said the souped-up cars would bring, quote, even more realism to WWE gamers. Yes, realism was apparently a concern in a fantasy car combat game. Either way, while most of the vehicles are alright, if not a bit generic for some WWE people, and I say that because many of the cars in this game are boiled down to either sports cars, trucks, or ATVs, I do question some of the car choices for these characters. Things like Steve Austin having a monster truck, such as the one he ran over The Rock's car with, makes sense. The same goes for Undertaker's chopper, as he was in full American badass mode at the time. Then there's Kurt Angle, who drives a blindingly American SUV. I was kinda hoping he'd be driving the milk truck that he used to hose down the invasion. Rikishi drives a steamroller when I would have preferred that he drive a modded version of the car he used to hit and run Steve Austin. Crush Hour also follows the WWE video game pattern of being outdated the moment it releases. Kane looks like this in the game, while looking like this in real life around the time of launch. Test looks like this in the game, but he looked like this at the time. As for The Rock, it seems like they tried to go halfway with his look because he started shaving his head in real life. His character select model has hair, but his in-game avatar doesn't. This could be due in part to their apparently borrowing models from another WWE game, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, for certain characters. The worst offenders of the game are the tag team of Billy and Chuck, who are both in the game despite their breaking up as a team and dropping these looks and gimmicks 5 months before the game released. Then again, maybe they didn't want to deprive players of their awe-inspiring music and amazing Titantron.
You look so good to me.
There are several different maps and sets of rules to play by in Crush Hour, but the bulk of the gameplay is obviously driving around, picking up turbos, health, weapons, called foreign objects in this game, and blowing up opposing vehicles. Doing so is actually pretty simple, as the controls are fairly intuitive. A little over halfway through my first match, I'd picked up on power slides, weapon use and management, basic stuff to get into the game. Though because I'm on the GameCube version, going from hitting the R button for machine gun fire to the Z button for foreign objects is kind of awkward, and I ended up wrapping an extra finger onto the right side of the controller to use both, which just made things even more awkward. As for the rules, that depends. In Exhibition mode, the rules can be changed around a bit for certain maps, all modeled after either WWE shows or match types. The end result is that there's a Raw, SmackDown, and Free-for-All rule set, but all three play exactly the same, just on different maps. It's like choosing whether to play a game of Madden 13, Madden 14, or Madden 15. It'll look slightly different, but football is football. Here you just try to get X amount of points by kills before anybody else, usually 5 or 10, against 2 or 3 other people. Vehicles respawn after getting blown up to ensure that someone gets the required number of points, and there's no limit to the amount of times anyone can respawn.
No matter how many we kill, they keep coming.
As mentioned earlier, the maps are all named after either WWE shows or match types. Raw's is the most dirt-simple stage, as it's just an open area with some traps and pickups scattered around. But then there's the Lumberjack level, which, and this will blow your mind with how creative they were on this, takes place in a lumber mill. And the Iron Man match happens at an ironworks. Actually, I shouldn't make fun of that, because it's one of the few matches with an appropriate design. Survivor Series just happens in a random city, Hell in a Cell takes place in an Egyptian pyramid for who knows what reason, and the Royal Rumble map is... I don't even know what they were thinking with this. The combat depends largely on which character you select, as each has their own statistics for handling, defense, strength, and speed. I don't know why they bothered with handling as a stat when you can just power slide everywhere. Especially when half the roster just has the same or similar value for handling and speed, and only one character has any significant difference between the two. Some of these stats don't even make sense, like how Rikishi, the chubby guy driving a steamroller, is somehow faster than Regal's Roadster, Benoit's ATV, and Austin's monster truck, and it's somehow as fast as Undertaker's motorcycle. Each vehicle is equipped with a basic machine gun, though this varies slightly between some vehicles. Some are only a single-shot weapon, some shoot a little faster or slower, and some fire 2 shots at once.
Twin blaster.
As for extra weapons, there are mines, grenade launchers, homing missiles, twisty rockets, the VRF gun, which looks like an ice beam for some reason, and then there are the 2 weapons worth a damn. There's the Annihilator, a powerful unguided energy beam, and the Atomic Drop, which is essentially a mini-nuke that does damage in a radius around where it lands. The Atomic Drop is also the name of a wrestling move, which leads me to wonder not only why they named this weapon after a kinda terrible move, but why they only bothered naming one weapon this way. It's not like there weren't other wrestling move names they could have used. We need a name for the laser-guided rockets. Now what can we name them that's wrestling related? Yeah, that'll work. The foreign objects primarily act as a complement to the other 2 modes of attacking, machine gun fire and ramming. In what I guess is an effort to apply the physical nature of pro wrestling to the game, ramming into opponents, namely using turbo boosts which can be picked up in several places on every map, is the best way to deal a lot of damage quickly to an opponent. It doesn't matter if your vehicle has really high defense or really low defense, because the person initiating the collision doesn't take damage. As a result, you can have a guy driving an ATV at Mach speed into a station wagon, the closest a regular car can get to a tank, and the station wagon will take all the damage. In another pro wrestling presentation move, every match starts with the combatants being introduced and having their Titantrons and music play. The catch is, all the music in the game was done by longtime WWE composer Jim Johnston. All of it. Any wrestlers that had licensed music as their theme at this time wound up with either completely different music or a cheap knockoff of their original theme. Jeff Hardy had his music, Loaded, replaced by generic grinding guitars.
Entering in the wood-pedaled station wagon, Jeff Hardy.
The same goes for Matt Hardy and his Live for the Moment theme.
I can slap a tornado. I can dry up a sea, yeah. Entering in the wood-pedaled station wagon, Matt Hardy.
One unlockable character, Kevin Nash, who was still in full NWO mode at the time and is honestly a pretty terrible character in this game, couldn't use Rockhouse, the NWO theme. Hulk Hogan's theme was Voodoo Child, but oh, spoiler, Hulk Hogan is a hidden character in a WWE game.
What?
Hulk Hogan's Voodoo Child theme was scrapped, as was American Made and Real American, for whatever the hell this is.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan!
And then there's Ric Flair, who instead of having the 2001 Space Odyssey theme, got a crappy Casio keyboard cover version of it. In addition to the intros, there were also animated and voiced taunts for each wrestler's avatar, which played during each match.
I'll show you true strength. Canadian strength.
Too bad. You won't get a second chance to try that.
Whatever. Believe me, I will back that ass up. Whoa! Who in the blue hell are you? Would you please shut the hell up?
While some do sound like they're making the effort, a lot of these sound really phoned in.
That one was straight out of Dudleyville.
I will find you.
I'm not the one who sucks. You suck.
You want extreme? I'll show you extreme.
I think the most disappointing taunts were from Ric Flair. This is a guy who would rant and scream, take off his jacket, and knee drop it because someone called him names. But in this game,
just when I started to like you, you go and do something stupid. Woo! I'm a 16-time world champion, and you're not. Woo!
blowing up someone's car seems to barely keep him awake. There's also the in-game commentary by WWE legend Jim Ross. Jim does sound like he's trying to be somewhat interested in what's going on, but his audio clips go from disinterested one moment to excited the next, and they're so poorly timed that there are mid-sentence pauses long enough to drive Rikishi's steamroller through.
A high-speed ram there by William Regal. A huge collision caused there by Rikishi. What a maneuver by The Rock.
On the plus side, I was amused at Jim Ross saying goofy stuff like, "The Rock has the twisty rockets."
The Rock has the twisty rockets. The Brahma Bull now has control of the twisty rockets.
There is an option to turn off the commentary as well as the avatar taunts, but I never did that because otherwise I'd end up hearing nothing but the droning of my vehicle's engine, as well as some explosions now and then, and that sound effect from Space Cadet Pinball. But there's more to Crush Hour cars than just machine guns, foreign objects, and ramming. Each vehicle has its own special attack, shown in the HUD, which needs to be charged up by attacking other characters, and can be used once before it has to be charged up again. Unfortunately, there's not much variety to these special attacks. Take, for example, The Rock's special attack, which is launching 3 projectiles. Or how about Edge, who launches 2 projectiles? Or what about Kurt Angle, who launches 3 projectiles? But wait, hold on a second. Hulk Hogan launches 3 heat-seeking projectiles, while Brock Lesnar launches 3 heat-seeking projectiles. Oh, and Stacy Keibler launches 3 heat-seeking projectiles. Okay, how about this? Steve Austin launches an exploding barrel, but William Regal launches an exploding cannonball. Completely different attacks, right? Yeah, there wasn't much thought put into the special attacks, and most of them have nothing to do with the wrestlers they're associated with. Why not have Brock do some kind of whirlwind attack, since his finisher, the F5, is named after a highly destructive tornado? Or what about having an electricity attack for Steve Austin's move, the Stone Cold Stunner? Or an earthquake for The Rock's Rock Bottom? Even the special attacks that don't necessarily fall into this trap aren't very creative. Booker T's special is basically if Warthog from Twisted Metal fired 3 volleys of missiles instead of 1. And Rikishi's special is pretty much Axel's Shockwave, but without a voice saying, "Axel Power." The one special attack I did enjoy, though, was Ric Flair's. He literally woos people to death. Oh, excuse me, I didn't say that right. He literally woos people to death. And finally, there's a reason that the stats for each character don't include a special attack rating like in Twisted Metal. Every special attack, if it hits, is damn near a one-hit kill. I get it, it's supposed to function like finishing moves in wrestling, but here's the problem. The people that get finishers in Crush Hour are the ones that attack constantly. You know what the AI in this game does when they lose a little over half of their health? Well, 2 things can happen. Sometimes they find a corner of the map and wait there for someone to kill them. They don't even bother to fight back when they get shot. Usually, though, they immediately stop what they're doing and make a beeline for the nearest health pickup. While technically a smart thing to do, this becomes incredibly tedious to deal with, as time after time I wound up chasing after opponents and trying to blow up their vehicles before they could get a health pickup, which, by the way, all item pickups respawn after about 15 to 20 seconds. Never mind that some areas have multiple health drops in close proximity, and the AI opponents can end up grabbing all of them if they keep taking damage. It got to the point where I'd start some matches by immediately grabbing all the health drops so no one else could take them. Anyway, this is why specials and even some foreign objects are so damn strong for every single person. If they weren't, people would be able to constantly run off and refill their health, due to the number and frequency of health pickups on every map. This isn't balanced gameplay so much as someone holding up the heavy side of a balance scale and calling it balanced. On the whole, these criticisms seem like things that can largely just be shrugged off. But there's one thing that I haven't mentioned yet, and for good reason. The single-player season mode. The first week of season mode is a Raw or SmackDown match, depending on what brand your character is associated with. Get 5 points and it's over. The only thing of note here is that there are only 2 opponents, and sometimes a third person will run in for a minute or so during the fight. A third person who can't be killed. Then week 2 is a Hell in a Cell match. Everyone starts inside a small room, and when only one person's left, the cell doors open and everyone just goes wherever. First to 10 points wins. Then week 3 is a lumberjack match. In pro wrestling, a lumberjack match is like a regular match but with other wrestlers surrounding the ring to stop the participants from running away. So of course, in Crush Hour, a lumberjack match is nothing like that. Here you just wait for a star to spawn somewhere and try to grab it. Collect 5 stars to win. Sometimes you'll luck out and the star will spawn next to you, but most of the time it spawns on the other side of the map, where a random AI opponent will pick it up before you can reach it. Even with the ability to blow up opposing vehicles to take a star away from them, this is an annoying match type. Then week 4 is a hardcore match. You just grab the title belt at the center of the map and play keep away with it for 30 seconds to win. If you're playing as someone with even decent speed, this match will only last about 32 seconds. Then week 5 is another Raw or SmackDown match, but this time it takes 10 points to win. 5 stages in, and already levels are getting repeated. Then this happens.
Kane grills up some delicious foie gras. Now some people like mesquite, others swear by briquettes. Let's see what Kane prefers. Hey, that's dynamite! Oh, Kane, I don't think that's...
You see what I'm doing right now? This is what usually happens when the WWE tries to be funny. Week 6 is yet another goddamn Raw or SmackDown match. We've had 6 matches, and 3 of them were on the same or similar maps and rules. Week 7 is a cage match. Normally for a cage match, the idea is to either beat your opponent normally or escape the cage. So of course in this game the idea is to knock everyone out of the cage, grab a contract that spawns when only one person is left in the cage, and deliver that contract to a set drop-off point. 3 times. There's a certain level of tedium to the different match types in this game. Not only do the regular matches get old fast because they keep getting repeated, but oftentimes the same characters will show up week in and week out. At various points in season mode, I faced Chris Jericho, Test, Stacy Keibler, and William Regal 3 weeks in a row. This shouldn't happen so often in a game that has over 20 playable characters straight out of the box. And by the way, if you're sick of hearing about season mode, or you think this part of the video is dragging on for a little too long, well, too damn bad, because we're not even halfway through season mode. Now you know how I felt. Week 8 is running the gauntlet. Normally a match where one wrestler faces several opponents in back-to-back matches. Now it's basically a longer version of the lumberjack match, as you need to get 10 stars to win. However, this match takes place on top of a set of buildings, which you can fall off of, and dying to any environmental hazards in this game takes a point off of your score. Awesome! Way to take the one thing I liked about the lumberjack match, that it's relatively quick to finish, and make it take more than twice as long. Week 9 is a battle royal, in which you have to survive against 11 opponents in a subway station. This would be a challenge except for 2 things. 1, I could just do laps in the side tunnels, picking up tons of foreign objects, health, and armor pickups, and most of the AI opponents wouldn't go after me. And 2, there are 2 subway trains that run through the middle of the stage. I didn't end up killing even half of my opponents because they would constantly gather in the center area to fight each other and get hit by the trains. Week 10 is the 4th Raw or SmackDown match. Second verse, same as the first, now for a pseudo-Japanese hair commercial.
Unforgiven hair gives despairing frown to everything. Sudden excitement hair wins favor of boys and ladies. Happy pee-pee smile! Oh, much honor! Happy pee-pee smile!
You know, I've studied Japanese for a few years and I can read all the katakana on the screen, and it still looks like gibberish. Except for that thing that's supposed to be a joke sitting in the corner, presumably embarrassed by its own existence. On to Week 11, the bottom line match. It's the same as the Raw or SmackDown matches against two people, but on a much, much more annoying map. There are almost no rails and a bunch of narrow paths, so falling off the stage multiple times is all but guaranteed. In fact, sometimes you'll want to fall off the stage to avoid getting killed and giving one of the AI opponents a point, even if it means sacrificing one of your own. And this is where I have a huge disconnect with Crush Hour. Part of what made Twisted Metal work so well was the survival aspect, having to scratch and claw your way through the game. You're going through all these locations, fighting all these other contestants with a limited number of lives, scavenging for every weapon and health pickup you can find, and when you lost a life, it was like a punch to the gut knowing that you wouldn't have that safety net to fall back on for later, harder stages and enemies. In Crush Hour, there's very little penalty for being reckless and no penalty for getting destroyed. Even if you outright lose a match, you can retry as much as you want. The point system doesn't build any tension outside of when someone's about to win. And even then, maps like the bottom line can screw that person over and drag out the contest for even longer, making it feel less like a car combat game and more like a game of Uno. Anyway, Week 12 is an Iron Man match, where you have to have the most points after 3 minutes. This is pretty annoying because the AI loves to steal kills here and there, but at least the time limit ensures this would be short, unlike Week 13, the Survivor Series match. It's supposed to be a tag team match where you try to eliminate both opponents 3 times, sometimes using the beacons to switch to whatever character you were randomly teamed with, or whatever hidden character you have a chance to unlock. This time, instead of enemies with low health going straight for health pickups, they go straight for the tag beacon. Once they're tagged out, they immediately regenerate their health. I had to either stock up on foreign objects to kill one of them quickly, or find a way to pin one of them to a wall so they couldn't tag out, because the AI almost never leaves the big open area where the tag beacons are. And that, my friends, is still not the end of season mode. You know, the first time I played through this game, I thought that I'd been at it for about 4 or 5 hours before I reached the end. In actuality, I'd only been playing it for 2 hours.
That's boring. You're boring everybody. Quit boring everyone.
Week 14 is a Royal Rumble. Here 2 crowns randomly spawn somewhere on the map and you have 30 seconds to grab one and hold on to it, or kill someone else and take theirs. Again, you can get screwed over by where the crowns spawn on this, one of the largest maps in the game, and end up desperately trying to kill an AI opponent that knows where all the health drops are. Running from the AI is actually pretty easy, because for some reason they really don't want to go to the big open area in the middle of the map. I would just grab a crown and hang out there, grabbing the armor and health pickups over and over while everyone else did laps around the outside, oblivious to my existence. Week 15 is another goddamn bottom line match, this time to 10 points and with 4 people. Guess how many times I fell off the stage this time?
7.
7?
7. Oh great, another one of these bits where Stacy Keibler and Trish Stratus are on Not Survivor. If nothing else, it's nice to know that part of this budget title's development costs went to jiggle physics. Now on to Week 16, which is a King of the Ring match. Take out 11 people in a row and you win. And finally, this happens.
What a huge upset on Crush Hour! Oh, but what's this? It appears that Mystery Man himself is going to teach Crush Hour's new champ a lesson of his own about ruthless aggression behind the wheel.
In Week 17, we've reached the final battle against Vince McMahon in his modded limousine. There's nothing special about this fight. Vince McMahon is just another unlockable character and his stats aren't even that good. Just grab the armor in the middle of the map and ram him repeatedly. Eventually his limo will break apart to reveal another limo inside, so I guess this is the poor man's Darktooth fight from Twisted Metal 2. But even with having to retreat and grab a health pickup once or twice, this whole fight only lasted a little over 30 seconds. And that's it for season mode. As Jim Ross once said, mercifully, it's over. In the end, all the WWE wrestlers decide to drop the TV bullshit and focus on, you know, wrestling.
But one thing remains the same: the rising popularity of WWE's Crush Hour.
This game never had a follow-up and was quickly forgotten. I honestly don't know how to feel about this game. On the one hand, it's a budget title, so I feel like I shouldn't be so harsh on it. And honestly, the game functions well enough. It's got a shallow learning curve, and if you want to get this just to mess around with your friends, I probably wouldn't talk you out of it. In fact, the game's relatively cheap on eBay and at most trade-in stores. For single player though, the game becomes oppressively dull not even halfway through the way too long campaign, and the AI is easy enough to exploit that the toughest opponent in the game is the bottom line stage, just because you can fall off damn near everywhere. Not to mention unlocking everyone and everything takes at least 7 playthroughs of season mode and a cheat code. There is a cheat for unlocking every character, but it doesn't work on the GameCube version, so if you must get this game, get it on PS2. As far as budget titles go, you could do worse, but... Hello?
Oh. You're welcome.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Okay. What the hell does he want now?
You're the one who's walking
Okay, I just got done playing the single player campaign. Now can I help you out with your video? SCR? You there? What did I miss?
You are the stars, we are the stripes. 正義の旗は過去から今日の空へ受け継がれた。You are the stars, we are the stripes. 誇りを込めて俺はやはりパパ、あなたの子だ。
SCR? Damn Facebook! Fuck it.